Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and tonight we are talking about Roads Not Taken, Season 7. What are some of the plot twists and plot threads that the writers didn't chase down? What were some of the open threads that never got closed? Where could this have gone? We're going to go into AU territory, alternate universe territory here. But before we do that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan of Supernatural since season 3. Started writing fanfic in 2012. I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast So Get This, the Lore of Supernatural Fanfic on Spotify. And as Ellis Colton, I am an MM romance writer.
All right, Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor. And I've been a fan of Supernatural since that very first episode aired all the way till that last episode made us cry.
Very good. Melissa.
Ditto what Elektra said, except I'm Melissa.
And Lynn.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lynn Zubernis. I'm a clinical psychologist and a professor at Westchester University. And my area of research is fan psychology. So I research fandom, but I am also a huge fan of Supernatural, have written 6 or maybe 7 now books about Supernatural. The most recent 2 written with the actors of Supernatural, who all wrote about their own experience making the show and being on the show.
And I'm Gail Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I fell in love halfway through season 11, fell down the rabbit hole, binge watched 11 seasons in 4 months for the start of season 12. And well, that's just the beginning of my life as an obsessed fan. So here we are. Let's take a look at season 7. There was a lot going on in canon, but there were a lot of doors that were open or left a crack that we didn't get some of the possibilities that presented themselves. So let's all go around, each give one, and we'll just keep going. Carole?
I'm going to start with a fairly basic one. Season 7, time for a wedding. Sam doesn't marry Becky. In fact, it turns out she's a demon and they kill
I had a variation on that.
Short and sweet.
Becky marries Leviathan Sam and hijinks ensue.
And I had Becky and Sam actually get married for real, and then the 3 of them are hunters together.
Okay.
But I like your versions better.
Elektra?
Time after time. Dean decides that he really likes working with Elliot Ness, and he stays back there and becomes an untouchable for real, and he finds a way to bring Sam back in time. And they're both untouchables together working for Elliot Ness. Because of course they are. They look really good in those clothes.
I love that. Melissa?
Well, you guys keep stealing everything that's in my notes. I also have time, but it's not what if Dean decides to stay. It's what if Sam can't bring him back? So Dean is stuck there. And so instead of Elliot Ness, we have Dean Winchester, the untouchable. Like he takes that role, but he can become so much better at it than Elliot Ness because he's got like all of the knowledge and the history, so that like in our world, we don't know Elliot Ness. We know Dean Winchester and Sam because Sam is Sam, figures out how to get back to in time to where Dean is. And the 2 of them become these amazing, they take those roles that Elliot Ness fulfilled. So slight variation on what Elektra had.
Lynn?
Well, Melissa, you were saying people took your ideas, so that's not good. But I actually had no idea that this is what this panel was about, and we were supposed to think of alternate universe kind of thing. So I am woefully unprepared. So who knows what I'm going to say. But off the top of my head, thinking about what episodes are in season 7, I really liked the episode Shut Up, Dr. Phil, because it had 2 Buffy alums on it that I just love. And I love the actors. I love the characters they played on Buffy. I love seeing them back together on Supernatural. It was like my fandoms colliding. So I would really like to have more of that. Perhaps instead of them going their separate ways at the end of that, they actually started working with Dawn. Dawn actually began to realize, okay, these hunters are actually trying to do something good. They actually really helped me repair my relationship with Maggie. Maybe they would team up. I mean, they would have to convince Maggie that she didn't have to kill Sam and Dean after all. So that would take a little convincing, but maybe once she was convinced, the 4 of them could actually work some cases together, be a little bit of a Scooby gang. I would like that.
Lynn, I've got a question for you. You're an instructor. Are you saying that the dog ate your homework? I'm sorry. I couldn't resist it. I'm sorry.
No, your dog ate her homework, and that's why she's not feeling
That's right.
well.
That's why your dog's not feeling well. Actually, it's worse than that. It's just I didn't do the homework because I thought the assignment was something really different. So I did.
We've
some
all done
homework,
that.
but
We've all done that.
We've all
That's
done that.
totally okay. So, first off, what if Dean didn't kill Amy Pond and lie about it? That would have removed the brothers are halfway mad at each other for half the season. But then, so Amy goes her own way, like Lenore and like the other people that they eventually let go, because just being supernatural doesn't make you evil. But then Amy's son later meets up with Lisa's son, Ben, and Sam's son, DJ, maybe when they're young adults, and they all know about the supernatural. They end up kind of being the new Scooby gang. And we also have Dean's daughter in the Slice Girls. So now we really have the Winchesters with a whole different generation.
I like that.
Carole?
I had a couple of those kinds of things where I have what if Charisma Carpenter and James Marsters, join the Winchesters and hunt with them. I have Emma, instead of being killed, joins as a hunter. There's always these great people they bring in, and they would be so cool if they didn't get killed off or wander away, but they actually joined the team. And I did have, first of all, what if he didn't kill Amy Pond? But then also, I've lost my place on my paper. Oh, that he does kill her, but what if he actually told Sam about it? Instead of like that festering silent thing they do, and then it explodes and one of them stomps off for an episode or 2 because they're so mad. So he actually doesn't lie to Sam about it. And they have, a very rare moment of truth and openness. And Sam, sure, he's mad and he's upset, but he, they're able to work through it because there wasn't any lying on top of it. I don't think it was even as much that Dean killed her. It was even more that he lied about it, that Sam was mad at. So what if, he did still kill her, but he didn't lie to Sam?
Okay. Elektra.
Here's the big one. What if Dick Roman was a terrible shot and he didn't get Bobby?
Yep.
Because I'm sorry, Bobby is one of my favorite characters, and I would just like to see him not be dead. I'm sorry, and they still had Bobby for all of the rest of this. And then Bobby got to meet AU Bobby later, and that would be just so cool.
Clearly that was a thought several of us
I
had.
think so. Melissa?
Continuing again with what Elektra said, Death Door, we don't lose Bobby, and it's all of those things that she said, but I'm thinking about that last episode because if I can do this without like crying, it's going to be a miracle. We have Sam at Dean's pyre. He's alone with Miracle. Bobby would have been there. Like Sam, because Bobby was the only family they had left. And I get that they had friends, and the friends were family don't end in blood, and they were very close with Donna and Jody and the girls and everybody else. But Bobby was that last bit of real family. Bobby was the one who helped raise them. He was their, Bobby looked at Sam and Dean as his boys. What if Sam had had Bobby to lean on during all of that time of that horrific grief? When we didn't get to see a lot of Sam's grief, but just how it would have changed and influenced that journey that Sam had to take, because he wouldn't have just been on his own. He would have been without his soulmate, because we know that they're soulmates, thanks to Garth, but he at least would have had a father figure to help lean on, and DJ would have had a grandpa. And wouldn't that have been just wonderful to see, Grandpa Bobby? It just would have been amazing. So,
Okay, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going with the Bobby theme because clearly we are all on board here. I mean, I think the show itself knows that they made a misstep when they killed Bobby, because the fact that they attempted AU Bobby, which didn't work for me at all, and I don't think worked for many people. I mean, it was still Jim Beaver, and I was happy to have Jim Beaver back, but it was a Bobby who didn't know Sam and Dean. So he can't be a father figure to Sam and Dean when he didn't know them. It didn't work at all. That was one of the dumbest things they tried to do with those AU characters. But I think it was because they realized, oh no, we should not have gotten rid of Bobby. Now what are we going to do? But the other obvious way to have fixed that too was to make Bobby, because he was a very strong man, able to not become, a ghost that is a vengeful spirit, but instead to remain a ghost that maybe would have to work at it so it could be a great narrative, because he's always sort of struggling against going down that vengeful spirit path. But for the most part, he manages to be a ghost that sticks around and can help Sam and Dean. I mean, there's so much great fan fiction where someone is a ghost and it's the ghost of that character interacting with the other characters. I think they should have let Bobby hang around. I would have rather had Ghost Bobby hanging around than bring AU Bobby, who didn't have any connection to Sam and Dean at all. So that's another way I would have liked to see it go.
So what if Frank Devereaux and Charlie teamed up to be some sort of supernatural hacker activists who were sort of like taking out, maybe make PETA with a P being paranormal, where they go after guys like Dick Roman and other illegitimate organizations, and they are hacktivists in the supernatural vein of things. That could have been a lot of fun, just watching Charlie and Frank play off each other. Carole?
it would have.
He's so dour and she's so bubbly and
Bouncy.
pop culture and stuff like that. That would have been hysterical. Well, I'm going to go with one of the other ones that was brainstormed this afternoon. What if Castiel breaking Sam's wall activates his boy king power, and there's a showdown between the boy king Sam and Godsteel? And I cannot take credit for that. But I got to present it, so I just love that. Like it spawned a plot bunny, and I'm just like, quiet down.
Elektra. Oh, what, Melissa?
I was just gonna say, Carole, did you write that down, or do I need to write that for you? Cool.
Elektra?
What if Annie manages to survive the haunted house? And, it's too bad for the teenagers, but Annie manages to figure out what's going on and takes care of the problem with the boys' help. And now, Annie and Bobby are a thing, and Sam and Dean have to like keep their mouths shut constantly around Annie and Bobby because, oh, right, yeah,
Foxholes.
foxholes, yep.
Melissa?
Melissa will be back after a short break.
Okay. Survival of the fittest. What if Dean didn't get dragged into purgatory? First, no Amelia. Yay! Second, no Benny, which I'm very sad about because I love Benny. I love Benny. I think they lost when they had Benny leave and then killed him off in Taxi Driver. I think they did a disservice to what could have been an interesting, occasional reoccurring character. But if we didn't have Dean getting dragged to purgatory, we wouldn't have Benny. Then we wouldn't have had Benny for Taxi Driver to get Sam out of purgatory. That's a big problem. So that's my what if.
It would have been interesting to speculate then how maybe that Benny could still have come on the scene somehow. Like maybe the force of Dick Roman's explosion rocked purgatory and it shook out a few things like Benny.
Or
and then there he is and he's like, whoa.
Maybe Sam could have had the whole discussion with Benny in purgatory and helped him get out the way Dean did, and he could have been Sam's buddy instead of Dean's.
Ooh, nice.
Sam the good boy King with all of his issues could also have had a vampire buddy who was trying to help out because he owed him one.
Okay. Lynn?
I also really like slash fiction with the Leviathan doubles of Sam and Dean. I feel like that could have had a lot of potential if the Leviathan doubles had stuck around. Either we could have Dean stuck with the Sam double and Sam stuck with the Dean double. And I feel like they could have some really interesting conversations because the Leviathan doubles did, I think, absorb. I mean, they did know quite a bit about what that person was thinking and feeling and their motivations were. So perhaps they would share things with the other brother and the other brother would realize, oh, I can ask some questions that, that maybe my brother wouldn't answer, but this guy doesn't care, he doesn't have any reason not to talk. So maybe I can find out a lot about my brother. Or if you had, this would be very, very difficult to film. So it certainly wouldn't have happened. But if we're just, spitballing, it would be interesting to have Dean stuck with Leviathan Dean and Sam stuck with Leviathan Sam and have the double of them be like, so here's how I see you. This is what you've got going on. These are your hangups, whatever, and like really be confronted with a completely uncensored and not even trying to do the right thing, immoral, not empathic person who knows a whole lot about you and is just going to put it out there. I think that would be fascinating. I have never even read fan fiction of that. Why has nobody written that into fan fiction? There's a lot of.
What if you even took it one step further and for some reason, like suppose the four of them all get arrested and the pertinent pairs, whether it's Dean and Sam, or one Dean and one Sam and the other Dean and a Sam, and they're handcuffed.
Oh yeah, I've
so not only are they going through this stuff, but then they've got to keep persuading the Leviathan not to eat them. And yet they have to work together to survive because they're, eluding prison or something like that.
Well, the Leviathans can like chew off an arm and get out of the handcuffs.
And somehow.
And they have to persuade them that it's the correct arm.
And somehow the Richchesters show
not
up.
My arm.
And now we've got 6 of them.
And then we have Jared and Jensen come in from the French Mistake. Right. And they don't know what the heck is going on. And they're like, oh my God.
I mean,
They die
frankly,
immediately out of stupidity.
the more iterations of Jared and Jensen characters, the better, in my opinion. So let's just conglomerate them all.
It'll be the multiverse, the Winchester multiverse.
The Winchester multiverse. So what if Kevin Tran and AJ the taxi driver teamed up to be basically coyotes running people out of purgatory for a price? This built up to Kevin's college fund and paid off AJ's taxi. And they basically got people out of purgatory, like running immigrants across the border. And Kevin knew how to do that because of the tablets, and AJ knew because of who he was. And so we end up with purgatory not being quite so lost and mysterious as much as being a hostile border that you have to navigate.
Who's riding shotgun for them to kill all the nasties? Because that's a really dangerous thing they're doing.
Well, maybe they partner with Benny.
All right, I'll buy that Benny is taking care of all the nasties.
Benny's got a vampire gang in purgatory. And yeah, they kind of ride shotgun on the whole thing. Back to you, Carol.
What if, now in a lot of fan fictions, Dean is always often, of course, he's often a mechanic, but he's also often sometimes a cook, whether it's in a diner or he starts his own bakery, and there's a lot of this kind of stuff. What if he, after they vanquish, the New Jersey monster and stuff, what if he decides to open a turducken restaurant? And he manufactures, these outrageous turduckens, and the fame of his diner spreads. He omits the blue evil drug-induced sauce there. And they end up stepping back from hunting because they can live off the proceeds, and then he franchises. And we have Dean's Turducken Diner.
Dean's Turducken Diner. Elektra?
Charlie Bradbury. When they meet Charlie Bradbury, she's already, out of curiosity about, everything, has already figured out not only that hunters exist, but that there's something rotten in the state of, Dick. And, when they show up, she's like one step ahead of them the whole way, and is like, what took you guys so long to get here? I needed somebody to give me the final piece. And, she's already figured out, how to use guns, and she's gotten herself all trained up. And she's the one that leads the charge against killing the Leviathans because, she's Charlie. And the three of them end up all hunting together. And, the two of them are, we wish that she was straight. Well, not, but she's the sister we never, ever had.
Okay.
She's an honorary Winchester, and she doesn't leave them the way she kept doing. Because didn't we all want Felicia Day to stay forever?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was another, I think they realized too that they maybe shouldn't have killed off Charlie, because she's another one they tried to bring back as AU Charlie. But again, that wasn't the same Charlie who even knew Sam and Dean. So I just don't understand why they thought we were going to feel the same way about those AU versions.
Yeah, they don't have any of the context. They don't. So they were just so awkward. And
it made an interesting storyline to have Dean and Sam really invested in rescuing these characters and having the characters not understand why. And that made an interesting story. But yeah, the continuing idea of why they should care about Sam and Dean or hang around, it didn't make sense in the story.
Okay. I think I was on Melissa, right?
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the whole Charlie thing, because they could have packed Charlie off to Oz, or just had her off living her life. They didn't have to kill her off to take her off the screen. They could have just had her continue to live her life, or be off in Oz with Dorothy, or any number of different things. without killing
Even-
her. I'm kind of stuck on that because that really
Even
bugged me.
when they brought her back from Oz, there are any number of ways to go back and forth to Oz. And anyone who's read any of those books ought to know that.
She could just be like living her life.
Right.
She like Jody lives her life and Donna lives her life. They don't have to be on screen all the time. Charlie could have been just continued to be one of those characters who appears as needed. I know that Felicia Day's schedule got busy and she was doing other stuff, and that's fine, but they could have still kept her. They didn't have to kill her off to solve that problem. All right.
They felt they seemed to have a problem with having these characters around and decide that, they had to make the story legit by killing people now and again because, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Well, they killed Sam and Dean plenty enough. Meet the new boss. What if we didn't have Castiel? What if Castiel didn't try to, didn't let all that go to his head and become a god? And what if he was just Castiel? What if he didn't try to be Chuck on steroids? All of the he wouldn't have broken Sam's wall. There's just so much stuff that wouldn't have happened or could have happened if we just had our regular Castiel. I really did not like them making Castiel. It didn't seem to fit with Cass's character to begin with, and I really had a hard time buying it. And so this is one of those things that really bothers me, that I just wish we didn't happen, because I would have just rather had Cass and not God Cass, who's off raining terror and being a jerk and all kinds of stuff. So it's more of a wish than a what if.
Okay. Lynn.
There's an episode in this season that the alpha vampire is in, and I love that character. I think they could have done so much more with that character. I love Rick Worthy as an actor. I would have liked to seen them kind of team up with the alpha vampire. I mean, in this season, I think it happens a little bit, like he gives them some of the blood that they need to do what they have to do. But it's this really reluctant partnership where they're like, all right, well, I'm going to let you live because I need you. Yeah, I'm going to let you live because I need you. He was extremely powerful, this ancient character with all this wisdom and all this charisma. I think he would have been a great recurring sort of frenemy, kind of like Crowley, but not with the sort of comic edge that Crowley has, like a more serious kind of frenemy, somebody who maintains the audience's fear of him, is very dangerous and fearsome. So it's really powerful when he does decide to help Sam and Dean, and their relationship with him could be really interesting, because I think they've kind of respected him and he kind of grudgingly respected them, even though they didn't agree on sort of ethics and morals. And what a rich relationship that would have been. I really wish they had done more with that.
Mm-hmm. One of the characters that I thought came and went too soon and could have at least been good for several episodes was Eve, the mother of all. And if she had partnered with Crowley, and then of course, it falls apart in the end because they really all both want everything, and so there's no room for partnership. But she came and went in one episode, and yes, it was the tool to get more of the creatures out of purgatory, but I think they could have run more with that character as teaming up with Crowley, doing just, I can see her leading this whole pack of monsters, organized monsters against the boys, and there was just room to do more, and they didn't do it. So, Carole? You're muted.
I just remembered that. They meet Kevin, and he's working very hard to get into Princeton. What if he does? What if he's like, okay, I'll work on translating this tablet for you and stuff, but I'm going to go to Princeton. And so there he is, he's juggling his whole Princeton existence. I mean, kind of like Sam at Stanford, but I guess non-canon is that Sam may have still done some hunting. But yeah, he's like, I refuse to let go of my dream for, for this. And ends up having, of course, shenanigans trying to hide his secret life from the apple pie world. But he was a smart cookie. He could have done it. And they could have used like Princeton's computers and databases and stuff for research. Sam would have been in hog heaven.
While we're talking about characters that just got killed off too soon and for no apparent reason, Frank Devereaux, they didn't even give him an on-screen death. He just disappears for the sake of creating a drive that Charlie can decode. He's just gone. And maybe maybe they intended to one day bring him back and he can claim that they almost got him and he was recovering somewhere, hiding, but they never did. And Frank was just like so paranoid and so cool. And he was an interesting character living off the radar and off the grid. And he taught them how to live off the grid when their enemies were just that much scarier than they were used to. And, he was the first guy to point out that, when people are chasing you, you got to get rid of the car, which was terrible because we love the car, but baby is something that's very visible. And he was a really fun, scary, paranoid guy and was like, yeah, your laptop, they can trace you through that. Here, get rid of it. Okay, here, take this. It's not traceable. Now you owe me $5,000. He worked on a cash and carry system. He was fun. We need more characters like that.
Well, he could have been just a great periodic supplier who popped up. And
whenever they needed a safe laptop or something, they would go visit Uncle Frank somewhere. And yeah, it's really us, Frank. Honest to God. Yeah. What's this week's password? I don't know. You're a dick. And eventually they'd go through the whole thing and find their way through. And maybe he'd give them, a new laptop because the old one had gotten destroyed in a battle.
Okay. Melissa.
I keep circling back to Lynn's idea about the alpha vampire. Like, he was smart, he was interesting, he was the bad guy with just the right edge where you didn't hate him. Like, sometimes bad guys are such monsters that you hate them. Dick Roman. The alpha vampire wasn't that. The alpha vampire was Crowley without the snark, like the humor. And so what
Everything
if
Gordon wasn't?
Yeah, what if they had been able to convince the alpha to stop drinking and killing humans? Like, the drinking part, whatever. But if they could have convinced him that if your vampires don't kill people, we won't hunt them. So, well, how am I going to drink? Well, we get Charlie to hook them up with blood bank donations. There's a lot of AU fanfic where humans donate like to the vampires because that's a thing. Wouldn't that have been an interesting, because now this alpha has to struggle to get his vampires in line, and so now Sam and Dean can be part of the execution squad. You either do what I say, drink from blood banks, drink from donated, human live donations, drink from animals. Those are your options. And if not, I'm setting the Winchesters on you. Wouldn't that have been an interesting thing? And then maybe the barn wouldn't have happened because the vampires would have been in control.
All you need to do to get teenage girls to donate to you is put a little glitter on your face. Haven't we already established that?
Oh, and we definitely saw in like True Blood the whole fang bangers, the girls who wanted, the people who wanted to come to the bar and fee and be a feed source. So you didn't have to kill them. They were willing donors.
I could see
Consensual.
that. I could see
Consensual
that with the
feeding.
alpha vamps for sure.
Oh yeah.
Lynn?
They had a lot of pretty vamps.
Mhm.
Yeah, it could be like a interview with the vampire, kind of morally gray kind of thing. Louis versus Lestat, you know, the wanting to do it, the not wanting to do it, the drinking from rats, drinking from people. Oh, it could have been a whole rich exploration. It could have been great. You mentioned Frank Devereaux, and so the episode Adventures in Babysitting, that was the one where Frank Devereaux, I think this is one of the most powerful scenes in the show. Frank tells Dean, you know, you have to either give up hunting or learn how to fake a smile and be a professional. And you know, he's so smart. He has such good advice. He sees things clearly, and that's like brutal and to the point, and nobody wants to hear that, but you totally understand why he's saying it. And at the end of that episode, Sam falls asleep in the car, and it's a close up on Dean, and he's attempting to fake this smile, and it is the most heartbreaking that, like, I don't even like to watch it because Jensen is so good at showing how painful that is. But I think that was just such a pivotal moment, and that was all because of Frank. But I was thinking about that episode then, and that was also the one that had Chrissy in it. The daughter of, I think the daughter of a hunter, or knew about
Daughter of a hunter.
Yeah, daughter
Yeah.
of a hunter, and was sort of torn of, does she want to be a hunter herself, or does she want to go to college? It's not necessarily a character that at the time I was like, ooh, I hope they bring this character back. That wasn't actually the case. But I do think the interesting thing about that episode is it was sort of mid-season, and Sam and Dean had been the whole sort of meta arc of the season about lying to each other, not lying to each other, doing things behind each other's backs, being able to like accept each other as they are and accept mistakes they'd made in the past and not blame their brother for it. And Chrissy was part of that arc, because Dean actually, when Chrissy says, I don't know, I think I might want to go to college, we sort of expect Dean to be like, you know, why would you know? Why would you do that? This is the family business, you know, that whole thing. But he encourages her to go to college, and he encourages her father to get away from hunting. And it's like a step in his journey of understanding Sam and truly being okay with the decision Sam made before. So it would have been interesting maybe to follow Chrissy and watch her struggle with that same thing that Sam did, as kind of a parallel or a mirror for Sam, and see how Sam and Dean would respond to watching her struggle now, 7 years away from the Stanford times.
You're muted. It's your turn to be muted.
I've got a dog making very loud noises in the background. So this one's even more out there, but bear with me. We don't meet televangelist Buddy Boyle until season 9, but he's obviously out there. He's you know, of an age to have been out there. So what if, we know Dick Roman was all about sustainability. What if Dick Roman partnered with Buddy Boyle and they bought the abandoned Jim and Tammy Faye Baker Heritage USA property? And
You broke Melissa.
and basically, you know, reinvigorated it as a sustainable food source for the Leviathans. And Buddy Boyle is creating the, you know, the theological rationale for why you should line up to be eaten, or at least, you know, munched on. And Dick Roman has his sustainable food source. So the Leviathans wouldn't necessarily have to destroy all of the people, but they would have this this way to coexist, courtesy of Buddy Boyle. So, and it gets this large abandoned property back on the South Carolina tax rolls. So yes, Melissa.
To serve man is what you're saying?
Yes, basically, yes. All right, last round. Carol?
What if Kevin isn't the prophet and it's Donatello instead of meeting him down the pike? So we have Frank Devereaux, Donatello, and Ghost Bobby. So like, as we were talking about, here's the younger generation. So here we actually have 3 grumpy old men. And they're all working together and they're all kind of grumping at each other, but they all understand each other's grumpiness, and they have such a wealth of knowledge there, because you have Bobby, who of course knows everything. You have Frank, who knows everything cyber-wise, and you have Donatello, who's a prophet, and so gets all the information, coming in through the cosmos. I love it. 3 grumpy old men. I think that would have been
I like that.
both hilarious and useful, and yeah.
Okay. Elektra?
There were a few creatures from Plucky Penny Whistles that I really would have liked to see us keep around, like the unicorn that was so beautiful and yet so vicious. And the shark in the ball pit. Those could have been served for other things other than they used so many good ideas in that one damn episode that I would have liked to see hang around. That's the restaurant that's got the shark in the ball pit.
With the ball washer.
If anybody's got
What?
a problem with their kid, just send them there. Tell them to go play in the ball pit.
And I thought the manager of that one was so practical and so down to earth. And, I think she could have been like kind of an interesting junior member of, like one step removed, not even up there with, say, like, Bobby and Donna and those guys, but like, kind of still in civilian life, but, could have worked with them, because she was really pretty unflappable.
Mhm.
Well, she had a kid. She was working a lousy job with a kid.
Yeah. Melissa?
Because I do love to read the fiction, the fanfic where Sam is tortured, but then not tortured, not like None of Letters tortured, but hurt comfort. That's my jam. So what if Castiel didn't take the Sam's hell memories? Like, what would have happened to Sam? And would Dean would have had to stop hunting to take care of Sam. Like that's it. That would have been his exit into hunting, and Sam would have gotten better eventually, because I can't leave. Like, her comfort is fine, but we always have to have that happy ending for me. So they leave hunting and they find a way to fix Sam's memories.
Diner.
But it has to be in Jersey, because hello, Jersey, land of diners. So yes, Sam's wall, like, he has to, Cass doesn't take it, and they have to find another way to heal Sam up, and Dean gets out of hunting and they settle in Jersey and open the turducken diner. I'm with that. Can I get that? That's my fan fiction.
Put in a request. Lynn?
The episode Defending Your Life, we get to see Joe again, who we hadn't seen for a very long time. And it's a little bit of closure for Joe and Dean. She lets him know she doesn't blame him for her death, which I think he really needed to hear. But that's actually, to me, like, maybe the most upsetting episode of the whole series, including the finale death. Like, the death of Joe and Ellen is the one, maybe because I have a daughter, I don't know. But that is the one that I can't really watch it, because it's just too sad, and it's so well done with Alona Tal and Samantha Ferris. I mean, they just knocked it out of the park. But because of that, I would have really liked to have had Joe back, and Ellen too, for that matter. So maybe, when they defeat Osiris, when they defeat him, Joe is still in the present and has been brought back. So maybe she actually gets to stay back and, maybe she quits hunting, but is still somebody that's a friend of the boys and has some intel and has some connections. But maybe, she goes on to have a happy, fulfilled life. I would just look at that for Joe.
Maybe she and Kevin fall in love.
Maybe they do and live happily ever after. I would just like that for Joe.
So I'm going to pick Out with the Old, which had the antique shop that had the cursed objects in the safe, and then the son didn't understand. See, I think there's a real niche opportunity here for an antique shop that deals with cursed and haunted objects, because what about all those hunters who had places like John did, and like the one we heard about in the episode with the cursed teddy bear, way up in season 15. These hunters get killed all the time. They've got to have storage units. Who goes and cleans out the storage units and then triages what's merely supernatural to what's actually dangerous? And then either
Grandma is that redhead from the Friday the 13th TV series.
Yeah.
All grown up.
So I think that this could have been a group of people that the boys would interact with. Yeah, I know that, Walt and Roy got killed and their storage units, here's the key, go clean it out. And then, if there's anything that can be sold off ethically, either to other hunters or whatever, the shop takes its profit from that. But I think that's a natural set of support people, because otherwise those are getting sold off in storage wars, and people are getting way more than they bargained for. All right, folks, this has been fun. I think we can keep going, but we're almost out of time. So I want to go around real fast and let everybody know where we can find you online. Carole?
You can find me on Facebook, especially on continual panels, many, many, many continual panels, and in the TFWNC group. All my fanfic is on AO3 under firesign10, mind the tags. I'm on Twitter as true_firesign10. And as Ellis Colton, you can find all my social media links on card.co. And my debut novella, Prescription for Love, is now available on Amazon.
Very good. Elektra?
My website is untilmidnight.com. You can find me on Mastodon at Elektra at wandering.shop.
Awesome. And Melissa?
You can find Kitty and I, who's making an appearance, doesn't feel well tonight, on the TFWNC Facebook group, and on Twitter, Tin Hat Daydreams. Mind the profile.
Lynn?
You can find me on all social media at Fangasm SPN. You can find links to all of my books, including Family to an End with Blood, and There'll Be Peace When You Are Done, with chapters by Jared, Jensen, Misha, and the Supernatural Actors, and the brand new book on the boys called Soups Ain't Always Heroes, with a lot of insights from Jensen. There are links on my website, fangasmthebook.com.
And I'm pretty easy to find at morganbryce.com, gailzmartin.com. All my socials are under one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group on Facebook.
Okay.
I'm a columnist for the Winchester Family Business blog. But most of the time, you can find me here on Continual. So thank you so much for being absolutely wonderful panelists. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural coming up soon. So we'll see you online.